Welcome to podcast 87. I've got 99 problems, but the grow room ain't one. That's the title of today's podcast. Well, we are going to get straight into it. Late night one tonight, 6:30 in Liverpool, England. If you are listening in America or any other time zone, we've done this one for you guys and allows you to listen in. Normally it's about 12 o'clock our time, and it's very early in Canada and the East Coast, a little bit later in the West Coast.
And for those of you who don't know me, it's myself, Thomas.
And myself, Stephen. And we are live, so let's go.
Yeah.
Let's crack on.
Before we start the show, I just wanted to do a dedication. I don't know, this is for everybody in Liverpool. You're on social media this week. You might have seen an incident where a young boy was sadly ran over and killed. The young boy was Frankie Murphy, which his mother and father are very close friends of mine, and also Frankie is as well. I just wanted to say how sadly grieved we are by the whole incident, and our hearts go out to you and everybody across the city and everybody across the country, and anybody who even has heard of it instantly. It just touches everybody's heart, whether you don't know them or not.
The outpourings on Facebook have been phenomenal.
Yeah, and I've been to the site as well, and we've laid some flowers as well as the shop as well. And some of the messages and the flowers that's been delivered and left by people, it's absolutely incredible. And it's really nice to see the city all show their condolences towards something. And a big thank you, especially because Gary's a close friend of mine. And keep strong, Gar. It's all good. And you, Kate, as well.
There's this podcast dedicated to you, little man.
So, we've got 99 problems and the grow room ain't one.
Well, it won't be when you've listened to this podcast.
Hopefully it won't be anyway.
So the purpose of today's podcast is, if you have a problem, you should have a procedure to go through that will allow you to identify these problems. What we intend to do is go through, step by step, some of the things that you should be looking out for. And if we say something that triggers something that's going wrong in your room, then you'll rectify it, you'll make it right, then you'll see if it works itself out. And if it doesn't, you go to the next step and you'll keep on making these small changes until eventually you identify the problem and get back on track. So the first one, number one, temperature and humidity. I've just put some bullet points down and we can talk about, go into a bit more depth as you feel like it.
Yeah, average temperatures, what the temperatures should be in your grow room.
Lights on. Temperatures around 26, 27 degrees Celsius. That's 27, 28 is maximum. You'd love it around 26 degrees. For anyone in Fahrenheit, that's 78 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit when the lights are on. Lights off, 21 to 22 degrees Celsius or 69 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, lights off. Now, a point I'll make about that is when the lights on and the lights off, the swing in that temperature can have a massive impact in the structure of your plant. So if you have a big swing, say the daytime temperatures are 28 and the nighttime temperatures go to below 18, then you're going to have a massive difference. There's a 10-degree swing there. With that swing comes the stretching of the plant, and that's a lot of the time that's not something that you want. So keep them temperatures tight and close together. A 5-degree swing is quite good, and then you won't have as much.
Any more than a 10-degree temperature drop will stress the plants immensely. Yeah. So, 99 problems. If some of these could be one of them, you need to address them.
First one, just check your temperatures. Go and get your temperature hygrometer from the grow shop.
Make sure it monitors humidity, because your humidity in vegetative period should be between 70%, and the humidity within the flowering period should be between 40%.
Yeah, man. Periods of higher temperatures can be okay if you're using CO2. Typically, that's for your slightly more advanced grower. You do want slightly higher temperatures if you're using supplementing with carbon dioxide. And periods of lower temperatures is not the end of the world, but what you might notice is purpling of the stems. You might notice a potassium deficiency if your room is going cold at night.
You might notice your plant's not drinking as quick as it used to be because it's feeling rather cold. Its root system's sitting in cold, extreme temperatures because of the extreme temperature loss. These are all part of the idea of where your plant may not be looking as healthy or taking us up as much nutrients it usually does, or as much water as it usually does. So all of these things, if these things aren't working, you've got some problems going on.
The biggest point I'd say with temperature, and especially in the UK, we're coming into really cold temperatures now. The other day it was 5 degrees in the morning. So when the lights are off, especially if you've got your lights off when it's nighttime outside, you can get cold temperatures. So that's a massive thing. I think a load of people are going to be struggling with that issue. So get heaters in there, get bar heaters, get oil-filled radiators, get something in there that's going to rectify the cold issue. Humidity in veg, 70%, 60 to 70% is okay. That is to prevent the plants, the young plants, from losing too much water. The roots are establishing, it can't take up as much water as a mature plant, so you don't want it to transpire too much, you don't want it to lose too much water. That's why we have our humidity at 70%. And if you've never checked humidity, and it's usually been quite dry, and it will be dry in the winter when it's colder, and you put humidity, you use a humidifier or you put some sort of dome over there, it's going to make a massive difference, and you'll notice that the plants will thank you very much for it. They'll move a lot quicker. Humidity and flowering, 40%.
Yeah,
we like to drop
between
it.
40 and 50%.
Yeah, we like to drop it because of
ideally keep it on
disease.
40%. Yeah,
if it's
get rid of the botrytis, the option of it.
Anyway. They love high humidity.
Yeah, they do. All of them type of pathogens love really extreme high humidity. So if you can pull that out, then obviously the plant's going to be liking it.
I remember when we were doing had our tobacco factory, the laboratory over in Liverpool, that when we dropped the humidity to 35-40%, it really made the nicotine pop out the plant. You know, all them trichomes on the leaves. Yeah. When you lower the humidity, the oils really come out, the resin really comes out. So there's another reason for getting your humidity low. So the top tip that I've got is, if your humidity does go too low, make sure that you're feeding plenty of water and reduce the amount of nutrients that you're feeding. Humidity goes low, plant transpires a lot more, loses a lot more water to the low humid environment, so they can overfeed, and you can probably get instances of nutrient burn. So if your humidity is too low, you can see signs of nutrient burn, brown tips on the leaves, and it's a problem. So make sure that isn't one of the problems, one of the 99 reasons why you've got a problem in the room.
Moving on.
Yeah, anything dramatically above or below these ranges will result in a host of problems that can sometimes appear as deficiencies or toxicities. So for listeners that are watching or listening, that sometimes want to go into deeper, and you know about humidity, you know about temperatures, we're not telling you anything new, you look a little bit deeper, start looking at VPD, vapor pressure deficit. That is a slightly more accurate and more in-depth look at how humidity and temperature interact with each other. If you're struggling to keep your humidity high in the early veg stages, because it's cold in England at the moment, invest in a humidifier. You can get them for pretty cheap, £50 I think they are, and that's that. I thought I'd add a little bit of an outdoors section in there, because a lot of the Cali connection, they grow outdoors. So if you're outdoors, humidity, temperature, very hard to control. I've put down some points here though, that you need to be a weatherman. You need to be up in the morning, checking the iPhone app, checking that weather app that you've got, and seeing what the day's going to bring for you. Check your temperatures, check your humidity, the chance of rainfall, wind speeds, all that sort of stuff. And the hot days, water early. My top tip for you guys is water early on those hot days, so that the water doesn't evaporate and your plants are getting plenty of water.
Yeah.
If you have, by the way, for anyone that's listening and watching live, if you have any top tips to spot problems in the room, we'd love to hear your top tips, won't we?
Yeah.
Go on then, Thomas. Light source.
Light source.
Having them too close to the plant.
Or if you haven't got any.
That can be a problem. Mushrooms.
Yeah. If you've got no lights, you've got the wrong lights. Lights are too intense. The lights are too close.
You haven't spent enough on your light.
To the wrong type of light at the wrong type of stage. If your light source is incorrect, it's one of the problems, one of the main problems why your plants won't be responding in the way that you want them to. So,
if you've got them too close to your plants as well, it can look a lot like deficiencies. Quite similar to nitrogen actually, but obviously it appears at the top of the plant where nitrogen starts at the bottom. The leaves will turn yellow. The veins between the leaves will stay green, but around them goes very yellow.
Yeah.
Can look a little bit like nutrient burn as well. The tips and around the edges can turn brown as the light is burning the leaves. And it can bleach fruits, so it can turn the top of the plant white. You know, like literally like it's been snowed on.
Yeah.
Completely white, but that's not a good thing.
No.
You'll lose all flavour and all aroma, so avoid that. If you use LEDs, that can happen really easily, because you buy LEDs, they produce less heat in the grow room. You think, I've been a bit closer to me plants, But LEDs give off a tremendous amount of light, so you're going to easily bleach your plants, easily stress them out from too much light. So you'd think that putting them closer to the plants is going to be beneficial for them, but in fact, follow the manufacturer's guidelines, get them at the right level, whether it's 60 centimetres, 70, 80 centimetres, make sure that you've got LEDs at the right level, and you'll be laughing all the way to harvest.
Yeah, make sure you take the little sticker off when you buy them off the shop as well. That's the top tip. When you fill the shades with blue and they're not, that's just the blue material on them. Take that off because it burns and sticks to them.
So alien veg. George there pissed himself laughing.
George has got a good comment there, though. We find running nighttime temps only 3 to 5 lower than daytime massively reduces the humidity spike in the room, especially in a closed loop system. Yeah. I'd agree with that. Yeah. Any drop in the temperature will decrease in the humidity, so if you can adjust humidity or add humidity, boom, you're flying. You're ahead of the mountain.
So you need to get dehumidifier or humidifier so you can push it up or down either way.
That's when you're getting nice and certified as a cultivator then.
Early veg, I like to use CFLs, T5s or metal halides. They will give you the best quality plants. CFLs and T5s for your really young plants. Metal halides for throughout the rest of the veg cycle. And then switching over to HPS for the better and flower. Bit more red in there. The plants will thank you for that as well.
£50 kit till 2 years of treat.
For listeners or anyone that's watching that want to delve a little bit deeper into lighting, because that was a little bit too basic for you guys, you want to start to research PPF, PPFD and PAR. They stand for photosynthetic photon flux, photosynthetic photo flux density and photosynthetic active radiation. They'll help you understand the amount and type of light reaching the plant, which is very important. And anyone that uses lumens or lux in our industry, give your heads a wobble.
Lumens are for humans.
PAR is for plants. So please, manufacturers of lights, anyone that's talking about lighting, don't refer to how bright your light is via lumens or lux.
Or use bellends who chat shite, saying these lights are fucking yard, and they're usually talking about lumens. And
yeah, if you want to get technical, go and invest in a PAR meter.
Don't talk to me.
No,
sorry.
If you want to get really technical in your grow room,
definitely talk to Steve.
Invest in a PAR meter. You'll be able to see the plant canopy, which is receiving the light in the best quantities, getting that grow room really dialed in, 100%. pH, EC and nutrient problems.
Okay, nice and simple. pH and EC, so both of them are different. So pH is
potential hydrogen
and EC is
electrical conductivity.
Now pH measures the alkalinity and acidity.
Exactly.
Yeah. EC measures the salt.
Or if there's any scientists watching, they're going to slate me. It's how acidic or basic your nutrient.
Well, there you go. Well, he doesn't know what he's talking about anyway. Trust him. And then we've got EC that measures the salts in the nutrients. Yeah. Okay. So
correct pH for most plants is between
5.5 and 5.8.
Yeah. If you get that water dialed in between those,
it's not between 5 and 7. Okay,
it is.
Yeah, it is, but that's not
it's a much narrower range than 5 and 7.
EC, the correct EC. No, the correct EC depends upon the life and the age of the plant. So if you don't understand any of this, what we're talking about, obviously this is one of the factors in your 99 problems. These two will be 2 of the 99 problems, and they will be big problems because pH allows your plant to take in the nutrients by the gateway being open, and the EC allows your plant to feed. You're feeding your plants, making it grow big and nice and healthy, and it requires different levels of EC all the way through the cycle. And if you don't know what they are, you can come and get a grow chart from the store, and you can come and listen to some podcasts, or you can view the show.
The EC that we always recommend is like a pyramid.
Start at the bottom.
Work your way up. The peak is at week 5,
week 5, 6. Yeah, just mid-flower, and then you
trail off to a flush again.
Yeah.
Eric's written 5.8 to 6.2. Correct. We say between 5.5 and 6.3.
I like it on 5.6.
Yeah.
For cocoa.
If you set it at 5.5,
for cocoa, that is.
Yeah. If you set it at 5.
For soil, you can use a dolomite lime to neutralise the pH, but that will be around about 7, I think. It's a safety barrier, but I still believe it's out of whack. Yeah,
it buffers the pH from swinging too much. I like to set it at 5.5 because early veg, the pH tends to rise very quickly because of the exchange at the root system. So that allows me a big pathway. My pH can get to 6 to 6.3 in 3 or 4 days, and it's not a major problem. If I set it at 6 and it's going to rise to 6.5, 6.6, then it's going to be outside of that boundaries of taking up nutrients. So that's my reason behind that. The reasons for the importance of the pH is due to the fact that nutrients can only be absorbed at specific pH bands. Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium and magnesium tends to be your macronutrients. They like a slightly acidic media environment, the root zone, whereas your nutrients like zinc, copper, iron, they like an even more acidic environment. So if you're not sure what we're talking about, go onto Google Images and type in pH absorption, and you'll notice all lots of different coloured pH graphs. Click on them and it'll explain what gets absorbed at what range. Yeah, so macros like it acidic, slightly acidic, micros like it even more acidic. In potted plants, you want to run pH water with half-strength nutrients through the pot. If you think that you're having pH problems but you're not quite sure, get your water, half-strength nutrients, and pH it to 5.6, 5.8. Usually, you want to put 2 to 3 times as much water through the pot as is the litre of the pot. So, if you're in a 10-litre pot, you want to run 20 to 30 litres through it, and that will get rid of any excess salts and hopefully sort that problem out. But also giving it
What was that, a systemic flush we were talking about then?
Systemic flush,
okay,
exactly,
cool.
yeah.
3 times the media.
Yeah, man, spot
Yeah,
on.
boom.
Hydroponic growers, so those in something like a DWC, empty the reservoir, fill it back up with water, get the right pH, get the right EC, and that will sort those problems out. If you want to go advanced on pH, because that was a little bit simple, there's a lot of chemistry sites dedicated to pH. Start looking into how pH is a logarithmic scale. So the difference between pH 5 and pH 6 is 10-fold. The difference between pH 5 and 7 is 100-fold. It's logarithmic, and that will help explain why it only takes a little bit of acidic acid to get it down, but then it seems to take loads, or it takes loads at the beginning and then it suddenly falls off the edge. So that will look into that. Also look at hydrogen ions, hydroxyl ions, and the effects of acids and bases on your plant, and that will help you. And I've wrote buy a tip, buy a good pH pen. We like Blue Lab, some buffer 7, buffer 4, and some potassium hydroxide solution for.
If you don't know how to do any of this stuff that we're
Storage
talking
and
about,
cleaning.
come into the shop. If you don't know how to clean your pH, or you don't know about any of this EC stuff, come into the shop and we'll teach you how to do it. It's simple. If you don't know how to buffer your pH meter and that, come into the shop and we'll sort it for you. If you bought the pH meter from us, we do a free service anyway. We always have since day one, that we clean them free of charge anyway, so you don't need to buy buffer 7 and buffer 4 because we clean it for you for nothing. So there you go.
If you're in another grow shop, they should do that for you.
Yeah, and if they don't, they just shit bags. Yeah, it's just our
EC we're on to now. We use in the UK EC, electrical conductivity.
In the America and US,
you tend to use PPM.
In the America and US, it's the same place, isn't it?
And Canadian.
And Canadian in the US and the America.
You can sometimes
PPM.
use PPM, parts per million, CF,
which is
conductivity factor,
okay,
and TDS, which is total dissolved solids. Essentially, they all measure the same thing. But EC, as a scientist, EC is the best way to measure how much nutrients are in your water. And if you want to go advanced on your EC, start looking into osmotic pressure and how it affects the internal water concentrations within the plant.
Yeah. Next, air circulation.
Go on then, air circulation. You like air circulation?
Simple. Make sure you've got air circulation. If you haven't, you've definitely got a problem in the 99, and air circulation is a major factor. Environment, 10 key steering wheels to success. We always harp on about air circulation. You have extraction. Make sure the extraction is right in cubic meters moved per hour. Yeah. Make sure your intake is the right amount of airflow in to equate to the
amount of lights and how many plants that you've got in
there.
I know you're going to literally...
CO2, you may or may not want to add CO2. You may or may not want to add bags or bottles or emitters or whatever.
Proper air movement. Okay, let's get to the important parts. Air in, air out. You want that opposite ends of the room. You don't want your air in and your air out at the exact same place, otherwise your air in's getting sucked straight out.
Make sure it's straight as an arrow. every bend that is within the ducting reduces the extraction immensely to maybe 3 or 4 bends. There's practically no
75% of your movement of your fan.
Air and circulation is really key to all everything.
We like negative pressure in the environment, so the air out is much stronger than the air in. And if you're in a tent, you should see the sides.
If you walk into your room and your tent is puffing out and looks as if it's going to take off like a balloon,
positive air pressure,
you need to get a pin and baste it. Nah, I'm only messing. Don't do that. Just either switch off the air in or increase the air out so we get a slight vacuum, so it cleans every particle of air that's within that section.
We recommend for every 600 watt light that you'd be using, move 350 to 400 metres cubed of air an hour. Fans in the grow room, air circulation, moving the air, making sure that there's no heat spots, hot spots in the room.
Heat spots, hot spots.
Heat spots, hot spots, anywhere you want spot.
If you're extracting your air correctly, this may, if somebody's trying to use a thermal imaging camera for scientific purposes to look at or evaluate your grow space.
Yeah, see how efficient your
if you extract your air correctly, it will move in a passageway that will allow this to be undetected. If people are scientifically trying to ascertain your
how
tomato grow
insulated
room
and efficient your insulation is.
Yeah, so basically, if you do your shit right, all the hot air won't be peeling out of the sides of the rooms, and that'll look like a big heat signature. You know what I'm saying? Right.
In air circulation, I've put closed loop systems, but to get into a closed loop system, I believe it'd take a dedicated podcast.
And you'll need some dough. Dough is expensive. Well, dough is expensive. It depends on how much dough you've got. But closed loop systems. What I meant is closed loop systems are expensive. Yeah. And if you haven't got much dough, you might not be able to afford it. But if you listen to the other stuff that we've told you, the baby stuff, the small little snippets, just getting the right temperature right, not overcrowding too much heat, getting all the environment extraction correctly, little fan, not so many plants, whatever it takes to keep them equations right will give you a better success rather than trying to just steam in and just go full bore.
Yeah. Air circulation as well. Thought CO2 would be mentioned. Most people use CO2 in a closed loop system, but a lot of people are using CO2 bags and CO2 bottles in the open loop systems as well.
I've also got something I want to jump in and smash it on first in before you get it. Oscillating fans, that's the fans, pedestal fans that you see that just what you use in the summer to keep you cool, yeah. Them things that just move air, yeah. A key thing about these is you don't point them directly at the plant because the plant has a microclimate that's building around it. So if you're trying to build humidity in a room around the plant and you're pushing this fan, pointing it directly at this plant, it's pushing all of its humidity away from it. It's common sense, that, isn't it? It's not rocket science. So it's taking its microclimates away, its humidity that you're working so hard to build up. So make sure that you don't have pedestal fans directly blowing at plants. They're not really for that. However, that can be argued because outside in the open environment, plants blow over from side to side and whatever. What I'm talking about is
perfection.
At the right times. Now, I would allow them to blow on the plants in flower because you want to get the humidity down, but then you can also strengthen the plant a bit. You do want some movement in the grow period to strengthen up the stems, but you don't want to remove the microclimate that's around the plant. So the key is to judging all of this right and using it in the right proportion, and that's how you take on the advice. And you, as the grower cultivator, may take certain snippets and do certain things different ways. There's no right or wrong. There's just every own person's way, but there's right and wrongs in the scientifics to the plant, i.e. over fertilisation, not letting the plant breathe, not feeding the plant correctly, or not giving it any light whatsoever. That is wrong. However, different styles of growing is not wrong or right. That's is preference.
What I'd say is just aim those fans at the wall and disperse that movement everywhere, so you're not getting, like, I won't say hot spots, but blasting spots. The watering cycle. If you've got your questions, you can always ask.
Watering cycle. I don't know what you really mean by this. I think you mean how
to water. Is watering one of the 99 problems you've got? Overwatering,
underwatering. Hang on. So when we talk about water, what else? Nutrients as well. So you'd have plants that, did they just take water? Did they take nutrients, or did you just like nutrients all the time, or is it better to give a bit of water in between? Of course it is. You listen to our podcast where we go in depth, but what we're saying is the watering cycle is key to the plant success. If it's not nailed in 100%. If you are under the water in your plant's stressed, it's dropping leaf, it's dropping solar panels, it hasn't got the capability to produce energy, to do its daily chores, so it's going to be hindered. Are you going to be able to go to the gym if you haven't had any food or any water? No, you're not. You're not even be able to walk down the street. So how are you going to be able to perform? Not happening. Watering is key. You overwater your plant, you're looking to kill it, you're drowning it. That's simply what you're doing. You're asphyxiating your plant. Simple signs the plant will tell you. Plant whisperer, listen to what we're saying. Each episode tells you how to ascertain all of this stuff. I know we sit here and we go on and we chat a load of crap and stuff like that, but we are actually trying to teach you the simple stuff of learning what a plant is trying to tell you and what it needs. And watering cycle is key. You overwater your plant, it'll start going yellow, it'll start dropping off its leaves, it'll start stinking, the root system will start stinking, the roots will start going brown. You leave it any further, it'll have no leaves left on the plant and you'll be just standing there scratching your ass, basically.
But it's not technically overwatering, is it? You're pushing out all the oxygen.
You're just destroying your plant.
Lack of oxygen.
Lack of everything, because everything starts breaking down because the plant's struggling. Everything has a knock-on effect.
Overwatering is a problem number
that's
one.
It. Yeah,
or
that's
a problem. Is it every single problem?
Well, which one is number one and which one's number none?
It can end up looking like
they're all as equally as bad. And what you've got to remember is, hang on, we've just talked about air circulation and we've just talked about pH, and then we've talked. So hang on,
temperature.
Can you get more than one of these wrong?
Quite a few.
Really? So you're telling me if I got pH and EC wrong, which are like key fundamentals in every plant's growing way and method and thing.
You're in a messed up state.
And then I didn't give it enough light. And then maybe the extraction and humidity. And
probably dead by this time.
So if you really aren't paying attention to some of these simple little bullet points and headings, what we're giving you, which are part of the ways of having 99 problems.
So to prevent it, one method is the second knuckle method. Put your finger into the media up until a second knuckle. If it's wet, you don't need to water. If it's dry, you need to give it a little
Get
water.
Get the finger in. What I've told us this one before. I like to demonstrate this one. Top tip: if you think you're overwatering and root zone might be affected, 2 fingers, slide across so the stem is in between. Grab hold of the base of the pot. Yes, a little bit will come loose at the top. It's no drama, it's no biggie. Slide the pot away and you will be able to see the root system. Put your cheek to it, feel, is it soaking, is it dry? Look at the roots, what colour are they? If they're not white fluffy, you need to be addressing that. Because if they're never white and fluffy, you need to constantly address
Sniff
it.
your roots.
You'd always sniff your roots, always sniff them. And if they stink of shit, you need to get rid of the problem.
Yeah, from overwatering, root rot.
Yeah.
Another method of checking if it's over or underwatered is lifting the pot, seeing how heavy they are, seeing how
if you go in your grow room, you need armbands to get in. That'll be a good sign. Or if you're overwatering and the neighbour from underneath, when you come back and there's a note on the door saying, "Can you ring me ASAP?"
I think your bath leaked.
Yeah, and then when you go down, they're like, "There's a leak upstairs." Well, that's a sign of overwatering. Yeah. Definitely.
When you get the armbands out.
Yeah.
When you do come to water in soil or cocoa, you want about a 10 to 20% runoff.
10.
It's a new number I've just made up.
If you want a 10% runoff, that's good.
If you know how to do that, let me know. A 10% runoff. It also makes sure that the salts don't build up and acts like a flush.
Make sure you starve your plants. So if you water them, bang, 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 and you're in soil, or you're in cocoa, 10 litre, 20 litre pot, 40 litre pot, whatever they are, boys, bottom feeding, top feeding, whatever it is, and you're banging them every day, make sure you chill out on the weekend, give them a break, but don't give them too much of the break where the leaf drops, just catch it right, bang, once you catch it right, just hammer it again, then give them a break and watch what happens. That's the toppest tip that you will ever get. That is the shit. That is the dog's bollocks. Listen to what I'm saying. That is the dog's bollocks tip. If you're one of them plants who just keeps watering, doesn't give a break, you haven't lived yet. You haven't experienced that part of our lifestyle. So get with the programme.
When you are watering as well, if your water's not draining out within a few minutes, you've got a compressed cocoa problem. It's not being able to drain out freely, so you need to look on adding a little bit of perlite, a little bit of pebbles, at making sure that there's plenty of...
And it can be an arduous process as well. If you've overwatered, it can be hard to backtrack. It really can. I've been stuck there many a time, and you know, this yellowing off and the leaves dropping and the temperature, and it's really hard work, and you're looking to do other things to change the issue, and that doesn't help neither, because plants take time to adjust to what factors you're trying to fix and whatnot. So if you've seen a problem and you think the next day it's going to be fixed, it's not. You need to hold on and make sure that you're doing the right things, and just be faithful and know that your knowledge is key, and then the plant will the plant will come back to full power.
Obviously, young plants need water a lot less often than the mature plants. Don't think that the young little babbers are going to be taking 10 litres a day. It's just wrong.
Well, that's what we always harp on about. We always talk about the plant stages of life, where majority growers just assume a plant it's just the same thing all the way through, and that's just ridiculous. You're an idiot, because obviously if a plant's that big, it doesn't take a litre of water, does it? It takes a little cup, and then you give it little bits, and then when it gets a bit bigger, you give it a little bit more. Gets a bit bigger, you give it a bit more, and then get bigger. Whoom. Yeah, you don't just start going, oh yeah, I'm going to give it a litre on this day every day, and that's that. It doesn't work like that. That's just idiocy. Come on, wake up. Next.
Small pots need frequent irrigations.
Yeah.
Big pots need less frequent watering.
However, if you overload a mass load of water site, i.e. you've got a big massive pot, the plant's established, but you're thinking, I'm just going to whack extra in here, that still won't do it any good. The best way to water the plant, check any text or literature, I haven't, but I just know, is little and often. So that means maybe, as opposed to one big whack of water every 3 days, 3 little tiny little bits a day. With them sound effects.
Little sippy.
Yeah, little sips.
What about bottom feeding?
But I love it. Kicks ass. In cocoa, in soil, I'd
top feed.
Yeah, top feeding. But in cocoa, it kicks ass.
Yeah, if you fill your pot, if you've got a 10 litre pot, you fill it with cocoa, you get to week 4, first couple of weeks of flower, and you think someone's robbed 2 inches of cocoa.
But that's my preference. Listen, my mates, big shout out to, I'm not going to mention yous, but you know who you are, because it's top feed and bottom feed. And you kick ass, don't you, bro? Hey, you know that. Hey, my bro. You know who he is, and I'm not even going to give a clue, one single clue. But, lad,
bit of top, bit of bottom.
We'll be spitting her this week, though, bro. Let me tell you, when she's looking crisp. Anyway.
I was saying, you think you've been robbed of 2 inches.
But that's one of my pals that he's a top feeder, and we argue. But I haven't got an argument, in all honesty, because the proof's in the pudding, and his pudding tastes fucking good.
But if you're not a very good cultivator and you're top feeding, you just go hell for leather.
Yeah, you're knackered. That's it. Yeah, that's it. That's the issue. If you know what you're doing, that's it. See, my friend, he does know what he's doing, and he is a plant whisperer, as you know. So he knows if I put a little bit too much in there, plant's going to talk to me, and I'm going to go, what you reckon on that? And oh no, it's not too good, that, man. Lay off that, put a bit of that, and he'll go, okay, so let's go and whisper, talk back, bum, 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 all done. That's how it works. Your plant will tell you. If you make a mistake, it'll tell you straight away. Yeah.
Underwater plants are wilt. Overwater plants, they droop, the leaves curl under, and they start to yellow from the bottom.
Right.
DWC, I want to mention DWC watering. 2 things to get it right. Oxygenation and water temperature. Make sure that they're always bubbling, getting the oxygen.
First things, 100%. The key ones before we burn everybody's head. Water temperature.
I said that.
Water temperature, which is, tell them.
18 degrees.
18 degrees what?
Celsius.
What? What about it? It should be. It shouldn't be. Never above, never below. What? Tell them.
Oh, so now we want the information.
Tell them.
I can go in depth.
No, just tell them the temperature. Why? What?
If you're 18 degrees, perfect. If you go too low,
so you don't want it below 18 degrees.
No, you want it dialed in.
Don't have your water temperature below 18 degrees. Don't have it
above 18 degrees.
Ever. So if you can keep it at 18 degrees, then you are the dog's bollocks.
And some people will disagree and say, I'll have mine at 19. It's a degree. I think 18. Well oxygenated and pest and disease. You've got a bullet point. You've got 5 things to say. Go on, say them.
Right, pest and disease. If you've got pest and disease in your grow room, they are major problems, and there'll be more than 99 of them. Let me tell you, within the first hour.
Yeah.
Spider mite, their rate of the way the hanky-panky is absolutely phenomenal, and they will decimate your crop very quickly. They're a problem. Thrip, they're a problem. Fungus gnats, they're a pain in the arse, and they're a problem. Whitefly,
they're a problem.
They're a problem. And pond skaters, they're just because of lazy asses.
Yeah. The reason I haven't said
there's a lot more other pests and diseases, especially for you guys in Canada and the US.
So the reason I haven't gone into depth on them because we've done all the podcasts
and we've got all of them podcasts recorded for you guys to listen to.
Go and check them out.
Yeah.
Can I do a roundup? 2 seconds. So for anyone that's tuned in at the end and is listening at the end, you've got these things to go through. Check your temperature and humidity. Check that the light source is not too close to the plant. Check your pH and EC. Make sure that the air circulation is correct for the stage of the plant's life, whether it's in veg or in flower. Overwatering, underwatering, make sure that you're not doing that. And if you've checked all of that, pest and disease, make sure that you're on point with all your pest and disease. And there you go.
And before I go, as I said, this podcast is dedicated to me little bro, little Frankie, man. R.I.P. Frankie, rest in peace, brother. I love you loads. And Gary and Kate, love you loads.
See you later, everyone.
See you later.